All right, all right. Peace. Uh, brother, I did real quick. Another. Uh, the brother birthday coming up. We like to call it the Earth Day is tomorrow, right? So I decided what I was going to do was special for my birthday, and I was going to do a webinar on negotiable instruments. I find that a lot of people don't understand how negotiable instrument work or how to create such an instrument when it's time to utilize the rights of credit. So what I decided to do was I'm gonna hold an event and it'll only be for tomorrow on my birthday. Uh, Set a time I'm thinking around about 3 p.m. But it'll only be just that event. It won't be a recording. You can't repurchase it. It won't be for resale. This will only be a one-time event to where you can only get privilege to this information if you are in the actual webinar. I will not be selling this information for sale. You won't be able to purchase it. So don't call to say, hey man, can we purchase that? The webinar you had, it's not for sale. It's not for sale. It's only a one-time special. And I'm really gonna do it just this one time because I've been getting a lot of people uh, who when they reach out to me, that be one of the main things is enforcement of the process, knowing how to create the instruments, knowing how what all has to be there in order to do things correctly. It's one thing for a person to say, "Hey, look, when you're receiving a negotiable instrument, you're receiving the rights to make payment, but not knowing how to make payment, not knowing what you need to do in order to make sure that everything is proper in accordance to the agreement is critical." So I'm going to have this one time uh, webinar. But hold up, give me a second. I'll be right back. All right. So the way the system works, negotiable instrument is a substitute for money. Okay. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by is like whenever you apply for a loan and you receive an approval for a loan balance, then that gives rise to a negotiable instrument because you're receiving the rights to make payment in something that will be considered to be paid in gold or in silver. But due to the fact that we have a disability because our government is bankrupt and they only operate in currency and fiat, When you receive an approved right to make payment, you can issue a negotiable instrument as a substitute for the money that you owe. You don't actually have to pay in cash because cash is just another form of a negotiable instrument. When you can create and issue one yourself, why would you use a private credit from a foreign entity when you can use your own credit and create your own instruments? You see what I'm saying? So it never really makes sense for you. Let me explain something to y'all. See, what you got to realize is that when you enter into a contract or an agreement, and you sign an agreement with a lender, the lender, there's a reason why they call him the lender. All right, because he's supposed to be lending something. And you, as the one borrowing, is supposed to be borrowing something or receiving the benefit or the credit of what you're borrowing. All right. So actually, a loan is an insurance policy, it's a annuity, it's a benefit. See, the government, by them being bankrupt, they have to provide financing for all transactions. So, you know how they say public and private, So the government finances all credit for all. Whenever credit is extended, the government has to approve financing for that credit. So what that means that whenever if you go and apply to a lender for a loan, they're going to run it with the government to see if they can get approved for the financing for that agreement before they give it to you. Before go right down to a dealer and try to get a car. I guarantee you they're gonna run your information. Who do you think they running that information? Okay, they're running the information with the Treasury to see if you can get approved for an extension of credit. Once they run it, if it's approved, then that means that the government has agreed to back that debt with finance. Now, why is that important? Because in 31 USC, what is it? 31 USC 1501. If you go look up 31 USC 1501, what you're going to come to realize is that the reason why they run your information every time you apply for a debt is because the government has to approve the funding to back that debt up, because the government is the financer for all private and public credit, right? So now, once they run your name and your information and the government sees that you're credible and the government say, yes, we will finance that agreement, then they say you've been approved. They come back and say you was approved. Now that you've approved, that means that the government will finance that if you draw on the government to finance. You see what I'm saying? And the lender has already extended the credit to you and put down that you have received the credit. So now the government holds you liable for that extension of credit because the government already said that they were back currency dollar for dollar. If you receive any type of United States obligation, the government said you can cash it in dollar for dollar, that they will accept it and exchange it in lawful kind dollar for dollar. So what that means, if I receive a lease as an extension of credit, what do I mean? I apply for credit. I'm not applying for debt. I'm actually applying for credit. And in this system, when you get credit, it comes in the form of a debt. It comes in the form of a debt. That doesn't necessarily mean that it is debt just because it has the form of a debt. You have to understand how credit works. So when you get approved for credit, you might receive something that's in the formal designation of a debt or a payment schedule of an amount to be paid or due, right? And that's usually how credit comes. But credit is not debt. Credit is not debt. Credit is an extension of credit, or what we would call a warranty or a guarantee, right? All right. So what that means, let me give you a different way to see a transaction rather than the way you've been taught. So usually when we get a lease from a lender, we usually look at the lease as an obligation for us to pay. We got to pay the lease off in order for us to stay in the apartment, right? Now, that's the way that they taught us with the education, the level of education they gave us, right? Now, from my understanding, from my studies and everything that I've done, a lease is not an item that you pay off. It's not an item that you make payments towards. That's not what a lease is. If you're making payments towards a lease, then that means that somebody has gained a security interest in your property, because you should not have to make payments towards a lease. All right. What a lease is an extension of credit. What does that mean? That means that you applied for rents because you didn't have none. You didn't have no rents, because if you did, you would never apply for the lease. The lease is where the rents come from. I mean, without the lease, would you be paying rents every month? I'm just going to be real with you. If you didn't have a document called lease that said that rents were due, what rents even exist in your transaction with your landlord? Where did the rents come from? Did it come from your job that you go? So you say you paying your rents every month, right? But where did that rents actually come from? Did they come from your employer? So why are you going to your employer to get the rents, to pay the rents, if the rents didn't come from your employer? I'm just trying to make it make sense. Make it make sense to me, because it don't make sense to me that you should have to go to your employer to get rents when the landlord is the one gave you the rents, and the rents come with the lease. You didn't even know nothing about rents until you got a lease in your possession. So if you really be logical, we would have to say that the lease instrument somehow is tied to your rents and your rights to receive payment of rents. Somehow it's tied into the lease, because in accounting, you can only use the value from the source and where it's generated. What that means, it's debits and credits, meaning in accounting, they taught us this in school, that, and you know I'm not lying, they taught it to you too. When you went to school, they said that, remember they taught us about negative and positive numbers. They taught us about how you go all the way up to the zero, and then it goes down, -1, -2. And then they taught us that positive and negative numbers are equivalent numbers. The only thing that can legally extinguish -3 is a +3. You couldn't even use a +4, +5, or a +6, or none of that. It could never extinguish. Only thing that can get rid of a negative number is this exact same matching principle. That's accounting, that everything zeroes back out to where it. So if I receive an extension of credit principally at $50,000, let's say it again, because I went to school, but I didn't know math was going to be this important, right? So if I receive a loan principally valued at 50,000, what does that mean? That means that the principal value of this item that's in my hand is 50,000. So it's almost like having a $50,000 check in your hand, because the instrument on its face, that's what it's worth. Now, in accounting, if this $50,000 item is considered as an extension of credit to me, and it has to be repaid, it can only be repaid with the value that generated with it. You can't go to your job and get no value to pay it off. You can't go down the bar, down the street, and ask them for a loan to pay it off. You can't go nowhere else to pay it off but directly from the source in which it came from. So that means that you got to go to the lease itself in order to make payment, baby. That's just how it goes. And if you ain't doing that, you ain't doing what you're supposed to be doing. You see what I'm saying? Because when you get an extension of credit, right? Think about it. You're being extended credit. And if you're using credit, think about it like this. I'm going to give it to you because it should make sense to you. I extend credit to you, a lease, principally valued at $3,000. So I give you a $3,000 item. as an extension of credit. Now, it's due to be paid in 30 days. But you got the item in your possession and you received a credit of $50,000. So in your mind, you think you owe me $50,000, right? So you start going to work every day. You're trying to figure out how you're going to pay your first month bill. You're doing everything you got to do to try to get this money up so you can take care of your bills, you can take care of your family, you can take care of your children, right? Because I gave you an extension of credit. Now, wouldn't it be more logical if, in fact, I gave you a $3,000 item as an extension of credit with me, and you got a copy of the receipt, and the first payment is due on January the 1st for the rents? Wouldn't it make more sense for you to ask me to reduce that amount from the amount of credit that I was approved for, rather than charge me the same amount as credit I'm approved for? See, you're being charged for the approved balance that you've been approved for, rather than claiming it and demanding that it be reduced as an extension of credit that you were approved for. See, if I already approved you for credit with my institution, then you should get a reduced balance every month. If I'm charging you for the amount I approved you for, that lets you know that something ain't right with the contract. Because if I approve you for credit, that means that you got a reduced balance with me. That don't mean you owe me anything. That means you got the rights to claim the amounts that I approved to be reduced rather than collected. See, they're collecting that amount rather than you demanding and identifying it as an amount you already have as an approved balance with them, and demanding that they apply the balance as the approved balance. And then it should reduce itself every month. Every month, if that balance is being applied, it should be a reduction in your obligation, meaning that your credits that you were approved for should reduce the loan that you are holding in your hand, meaning that the due balances should reduce the interest. Instead of, if the due balances are being paid by you rather than being applied by them to reduce the debt, then that means that they're playing on your intelligence. That's facts, because that's the way loans work. You get extended loan on one side, and then the due balances come from the other side, which reduces the loan you received on this side. So the paperwork you receive on this side and the interest is the amounts that you issue an order to apply toward the same side that you holding the note on. So you're working both sides of the ledger. Anytime you receive a loan, it's always going to be more than one value associated with your loan. You can't receive a loan without receiving interest and principal and interest. They work hand in hand. You can't, it's just like you can't go up without being down, or you can't go down if you wasn't up. You see what I'm saying? You can't go left if you've never been right, and you can't go right if you ain't been left. See what I'm saying? So everything has this equal opposite. You know, they work hand in hand with each other, up and down, left and right. You need one in order to identify the other. So without me identifying my left, I wouldn't be able to identify my right. Would I be identifying up, I wouldn't be able to identify with what was down. See, and the same thing with credit, I wouldn't be able to identify with debit. If I didn't identify with principal, then I wouldn't be able to identify with interest. If I didn't identify with persons, I wouldn't be able to identify with men and women. See, you gotta put it together. You gotta understand that what type of system you're living in. You must become cognizant of words, phrases, similes, adjectives, linking verbs, pronouns, because this is all the stuff that they're using in this day. I mean, you might not think it, but that's actually what they're using. They're using linking verbs, pronouns, adjectives, adverbs. That's what they're using against you, because a lot of us are not literally able to comprehend information. So, but like I said, I'm having this one-time webinar. It's gonna be $49.99, and I'll be actually showing you how to create a draft or any type of instrument that's needed in order to process payment. we'll be going over, and this will be for like service, like your utility services. If you've been trying to figure it out and you've been having problems, you've been going to all these different people and ain't none of that stuff been working for you, and you want to learn how to actually process payment correctly based off what you want to be able to take an instrument and be able to know how to pay that instrument based off the instrument, then you want to make sure you be here, because once you come to this class, you won't have no more doubts. It won't be no more questions of whether you right or wrong. You're gonna know for a fact that you're doing things correctly. You're gonna have the laws to support it, and you're gonna know exactly how to create the type of documents that you need to create, whether it's a promissory note, whether it's a draft, a bill of exchange, whether it's a money order, all right, and how to actually process your payments correctly. You know what I'm saying? Using the EFT process and other little processes that I'm going to be showing only in this one time webinar. It will not be resold. It'll only be a one-time event for anybody that really need this information, that want to really learn how to actually deal with these situations. Then you can make sure you sign up. I would have had a link right now to put up under it for y'all to tap on to, but I think I'm gonna create I know you can go to the website buildingbetterminds.info, and you should be able to on the website we should have something up there that should direct you to this event. It will be tomorrow. I'm thinking 3 p.m. Central Time. So if you got something on your schedule, man, clear your schedule. Hey, listen, if you ain't never been to one of my webinars, especially when I go over negotiable instruments, hey man, you ain't gonna want to miss this. I guarantee you ain't gonna want to miss this right here. This is right here. This is that what everybody definitely needs to get is understanding how to process payment. Payment is one of the most crucial aspects of this commercial venue, is knowing how to make payment when it's time to make payment, knowing how to accept and process something that's for your benefit. I can tell you like this: when you make payment, you ain't supposed to be doing the same thing every month. That is not how it goes. You don't process payment every month. You make one payment, and one payment discharges to everything, because you're dealing with credit. You're not dealing with actual real money. You're dealing with credit, man. So when you understand how credit works, then it discharges. All right. One payment could be the total amount for everything. You know how they say, uh, uh, accord and satisfaction. All right. Accord and satisfaction is when you tender a portion of a payment as the total obligation. And that can mean one bill can pay off the whole account if you know what you're doing. All right. With that said, I'm gonna get on up out of here. Like I said, uh, y'all look forward. I might just even air something out. I might put a video up and have a link in the bottom. So if you want to go and get it, but if not, make sure y'all go to buildingbetterminds.info, check on the website. Uh, and I will be coming back. I know I will be coming back, putting some more stuff up, letting people know that I will be having this event. So because I know a lot of people really want to know how to create these instruments. So I'm gonna give you an opportunity this one time to get this information. If you don't get it and you miss out, that's your loss. Okay. It's your loss. I can only do so much, and I can only extend my hand so many times to help people. All right. I've been helping people for quite some time. All right. I'm gonna do it one more time. Like I said, $49.99. That's a really cheap price, because people will charge you thousands for what I'm about to show. You see what I'm saying? And they probably wouldn't even give you half of the stuff that I'm gonna give you, but they're gonna charge the hell out of you. If they even knew half of what I knew right now, they'd be having a feast right now all over the internet trying to sell this information. But because I'm so, I got so much information, that's why I don't put out so much information, because I know what people do. They'll get it and they'll resell it. They'll take it and see how vital it is, and I'm giving it out free, and they'll take it, and before you know it, I'll be looking on her and they selling it. Oh, come on out, and you can get this, and I'm looking like that's the same information I was just going over the other day. You know what I'm saying, for free. So it's like when you understand how grimy this thing is and how people seeking it, looking and trying to find stuff so they can resell it and doing all of that, man. So, you just got to be wise. So I'm learning how to be more cautious on what I put out because, everything ain't for everybody because there's a lot of people that's using this information to what they call it, uh, to enrich themselves. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of people enriching themselves off of this information because the prices tell you with $500 a consultation. Uh, my course is 2,500 for 6 months. Uh, uh, it costs $20,000 for my child support remedy. Of course, if I get 5 people, then I done damn near made damn near $50,000 just off dummy just buying stuff. You see what I'm saying? You got people selling what they call it Treasury Direct packages for $15,000-$20,000 to help you set up the Treasury Direct. You got to be out your mind to pay somebody that much money to help you set up an account. You can go right online and read the instructions for yourself, and it tell you exactly how to set the account. It's ridiculous how, But I guess when people don't want to think for themselves, they don't want to do for themselves. That's why God said in the Bible that He will bless a child who can hold his own. So if you can't hold your own, then you're not entitled to blessings. That's why you suffer. That's why your job taking advantage of you. That's why these gurus taking advantage of you. That's why anybody that get an opportunity to manipulate you when they understand you don't know what you need to know. That's why being ignorant is not a good thing, because when you ignorant, that people can take advantage of you. They can make you work under less than minimum wage. You don't even know you're supposed to be getting paid minimum wage, but they ain't gonna tell you. They're gonna hire you at $7 and look at you like a fool because you don't know that the federal minimum wage is they ain't supposed to be going under that, but they do it anyway. They do this type of stuff all the time, man, because it's a lot of people out here that just don't know nothing. You don't know nothing. People take stuff from people all the time based off the fact that they don't know. And they be sitting there like vipers, waiting on you to just walk away and just leave everything behind, not say anything or anything. They be waiting on that. That's what they waiting on. They waiting on you to show that you don't understand what you're doing. And legally, you're responsible for everything that you're doing, especially once you reach a certain age. Keep that in mind. One thing I'm gonna tell you like this, right? One thing you do need. Hold up. So, what we want to do, y'all, what we want to do, we want to get you from. Our goal is to take you from using cash in order to make payment for your services, for your goods, and to show you how to use a money substitute. If you don't know how to create a money substitute and use a substitute in exchange for money, then make sure you sign up, because you ain't gonna want to miss this. And of course, there is a certain way that the document has to be drafted. There are certain things that you must have in your documents, and the only way you would know if you're doing it right is if you come out to this webinar and you get this information, because like, I'm not going to just tell you what you need to do. I'm going to show you and show you how the law supports everything. And once I show you what I'm showing you, it ain't going to be no doubts in your mind. I guarantee you, once you come and you see what I'm showing you and I explain everything to you on how it works, how it goes, you won't have no problem with getting no payments made for no account that you hold possession of. It's just all about knowledge, okay? So if you really want to get this knowledge, if you really want to get yourself up out of the situation that you're in, You want to deal with these obligations that you're dealing with, and you want to learn how to actually issue the correct type of instruments that can be used as a substitute for money rather than using public money. You can use your own private right to issue a substitute for money as credit that you have been approved for. Then make sure you sign up. You ain't gonna want to miss this, man. I guarantee you that this will be one of the most talked about, profound webinars when it comes to creating, processing, and issuing negotiable instruments. I'll catch y'all a little bit later. Like I said, I will be coming back. I might make a short clip with a little link or something. So if you see my link go up about negotiable instruments for the birthday sale that I'm having, make sure you tap in, yo. I see you in the webinar. Salute to all the real ones. I catch up with y'all a little bit later. Peace and love.